The Red Room by H.G.Wells. I can assure you, said I, that it will take a very tangible ghost to frighten me. It is your own choosing, said the man with the withered arm. 8 and 20 years I have lived, and never a ghost have I seen as yet.
8 and 20 years you have lived, and never seen the lights of this house, I reckon,
said an old lady.
There are many things to see when one's still but 8 and 20, many things to see and sorrow for.
I half suspected the old people were trying to enhance the spiritual terrors of their house by their own drowning insistence. The second old man came. He was wearing a shade and he supported himself with the help of a crutch. He spoke nothing, only sat down clumsily on the armchair on the opposite of the table and began to cough frequently. I must confess that I had scarcely expected these grotesque caretakers. The three of them made me feel uncomfortable. It is your own choosing, said the man with the withered arm. It's my choosing. Look, if you show me this haunted room of yours, I will make myself comfortable there. The old man with a cough jerked his head back so suddenly that it startled me, and shot another glance of his red eyes at me from out of the darkness under the shade, but no one answered me. After a minute of waiting, I said a little louder, If you will show me to this haunted room of yours, I will relieve you from the task of entertaining me. There's a candle on the slab outside the door, but if you go to the Red Room tonight,
This night of all nights,
you go alone. Very well, and which way do I go? You go along the passage for a bit until you come to a spiral staircase, and on the second landing is a door covered with green blaze. Go through that and down the long corridor to the end, and the Red Room is on your left up the steps. Are you really going? Said the man with the shade finally.
this night of all nights.
That's what I came for. Good night. It's your own choosing. So I left them and walked down the chilly echoing passage. The passage I was in, long and shadowy, with a film of moisture glistening on the wall, was as gaunt and cold as a thing that was dead and rigid. My candle flared and made the shadows cover and quiver. The echoes rang up and down the spiral staircase, and the shadow came sweeping up after me, and another fled before me into the darkness overhead. Suddenly a shadow fell with a marvelous distinctness upon the white paneling, and gave me an impression of someone crouching to waylay me. Later I was relieved to find that the shadow belonged to a bronze group that resembled a gynamate and an eagle, standing upon the landing hidden from me by the corner of the wall. I entered, closed the door behind me at once, and took a good look at the great red room of the roaring castle in which the young duke had died, or rather in which he had begun his dying, for he had opened the door and fallen headlong down the steps I had just ascended. There were other and older stories that clung to the room like a tale of a timid wife and a tragic end that came to her husband's jest of frightening her. I must confess some impalpable quality of that ancient room disturbed me. I had to fight the feeling down. I began to walk around the room, peering around each article of the furniture, tucking up the valances of the bed and opening its curtains wide. In one place there was a distinct echo to my footsteps, and the noises I made seemed so little that they enhanced rather than broke the silence of the place. Then I saw my face in the mirror. White. There were two big mirrors in the room, each with a pair of scones-bearing candles, and on the mantel shelf too were candles in china candlesticks. All these I lit one after the other. The fire was laid, an unexpected consideration from the old housekeeper, and I lit it to keep down any disposition to shiver. The somber reds and greys of the room troubled me. Even with its 7 candles, the place seemed merely dim. I recalled the wax candles I had seen in the corridor, and with the slight effort, carrying a candle and leaving the door open, I walked out into the moonlight, and presently returned with as many as 10. At last my 17 candles were so placed that not an inch of the room but had the direct light of at least one of them. It occurred to me that when the ghost came, I could warn him not to trip over them. Then something happened in the alcove. I did not see the candle go out. I simply turned and saw the darkness was there. The black shadow had sprung back to its place. I assumed it was a strong draught. I took a matchbox to relight the corner again. As I struck the match the second time, something seemed to blink on the wall before me. I turned my head involuntarily and saw that the 2 candles on the little table by the fireplace were extinguished. I rose at once to my feet. Odd, I said. Did I do that myself in a flash of absent-mindedness? I walked back, relit one, and as I did so, I saw the candle in the right sconce of one of the mirrors wink and go right out, and almost immediately his companion followed it. Both candles in the mantel shelf went out, followed by the candle on the corner of the wardrobe. Same goes for the one I had just relit in the alcove. I began to relight them once more, starting from the one in the mantel, then the large mirror candles, and those on the floor near the doorway. When I seemed to gain on the extinctions, in a noiseless volley there vanished 4 lights at once in different corners of the room. As I stood undecided, an invisible hand seemed to sweep out the 2 candles on the table. As I raced against time to relit them all, the steady extinction of flames went on, and the shadows I feared and thought against returned and crept in upon me. I was now almost frantic with the horror of the coming darkness, and my self-possession deserted me. I bruised myself in the thigh against the table as I was trying to relight the candles in panic. I sent a chair headlong. I stumbled and fell and whisked the cloth from the table in my fall. My candle rolled away from me, and I snatched another as I rose. Abruptly, this was blown out as I swung it off the table by the wind of my sudden movement, and immediately the 2 remaining candles followed. Then I thought about the fireplace. Of course, I could still thrust my candle between the bars and relight it, but the flames of my remaining candle failed me. The darkness closed upon me like a shutting of an eye, wrapped about me in a stifling embrace. I made a stumbling run for the door, but I had forgotten the exact position of the door, and I struck myself heavily against the corner of the bed. I staggered back, turned, and was either struck or struck myself against some other bulky furnishing. After suffering a heavy blow to my forehead, I remembered no more. I opened my eyes in daylight. My head was roughly bandaged, and the man with the withered hand was watching my face. The old woman, who was now pleasant at sight, was pouring out some drops of medicine into the glass. "Where am I?" I said. "I seem to remember you, and yet I cannot remember who you are." "Ray found you at dawn," said he, "and there was blood on your forehead and lips." I wondered that I had ever disliked him. The 3 of them in the daylight seemed commonplace old folk enough. "Do you believe now the room was haunted?" "Yes, it was haunted." "And you have seen it. Tell us, is it truly the old Earl who—" "No, it is not."
I told you so. It's his poor young countess who was frightened.
"No, it is not. There was no ghost there at all, but far worse, something impalpable. It is fear, fear that will not have light nor sound, that will not bear with reason, that deafens and darkens and overwhelms. It followed me through the corridor, it fought against me in the room. The candles went out one after another, and I fled." The old man with a shade finally said, "That is it. Power of darkness. You can feel it everywhere. Even in the daytime, it creeps in the corner so you dare not turn. Fear itself is in that room, and there it will be so long as this house of sin endures."
Hey, remember to sign up for my website and get some free reviews.